In this video, we're going to take a look at exam revision for inequalities. So what we're going to do in this video is run through some exam style questions for inequalities. What I would recommend is that you pause the video, have a go at the questions as they appear on the screen, and double check that your solution matches what we get. That's everything that we need here to begin with, so let's get started with question 1. So if we begin with part A here, we're asked to represent x being greater than -3 on the number line below. We can see our number line here. So the very first thing that I'm going to do here is place my circle at -3. So at -3 here, we place the circle. So now we just think about this inequality here for a moment. So x being greater than -3, that means we're looking for values such as -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so we're looking for values bigger than -3. So that means we're now going to draw the arrow in this direction here. We use a ruler to do this. I'm doing it freehand. It looks a little bit messy. We get something that looks like that. Okay. So to finish with now, we just need to decide whether we shade this circle here. But remember, our inequality here is strict. So x is strictly greater than -3. But when the inequality is strict, that means we don't shade the circle. So there we have it. So we leave the inequality as it is here on the number line. And that gives us the solution to A there. So we move on to B now. We'll do this underneath. We're asked to solve 3y minus 5 is less than 25. So 3y minus 5 is less than 25. So for solving inequalities like this, remember, treat it like an equation. So the very first thing that I would do here if this was an equation would be to add 5 to both sides. We add 5 to both sides here. On the left hand side then, that means this -5 will cancel with the +5. I'm going to get simply left with 3y. And on the right hand side here, we've got 25 plus 5, which would give me 30. We get 3y is less than 30. So now we just want y here, okay? So we're now going to divide by this coefficient here of the y, so there's 3. So now we divide both sides by 3 here. In that case then, on the left hand side we'll simply get y. And on the right hand side here, we've got 30 divided by 3, which would give us 10 there. There we have it, so that's the solution to B, that's the solution to A, and there we have it, so that's the solution to question 1. So if we move on to question 2, now we've got two parts again, part A and part B. If we begin with part A here, for n which is an integer, such that n lies between this inequality here, we're asked to write down all the possible values of n. So all we need to think about here is this inequality. We do include the -1, but we don't include the 4. So in terms of integers then, remember that's just whole numbers, n can be the following values, so it can be -1, if we include the -1. It would then be 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, remember we don't include the 4 here, this is a strict inequality. We don't include the 4, and that gives us the solution there to A. That's part A done. We move on to B now. We have to solve this inequality here, so I've got 6x plus 2 greater than or equal to 20. So solving inequalities here, remember we treat this just like an equation. So I'm going to balance this inequality here. So to begin with here, I'm going to subtract 2 off both sides. -2 off both sides. So on the left hand side that will give me 6x. And on the right hand side here, this inequality, we do 20 minus 2, giving us 18. And then from here, I'm now going to divide both sides by 6. So therefore, what we're going to get here, x is greater than or equal to 18 divided by 6, which would give us 3 there. Okay? And there we have it. So that's the solution to A. And that's the solution to B. And there we have it. So that's the solution to question 2. Moving on to question 3 now, we have y, which is an integer, and y lies between 5 and 9, but we don't include the 5 or the 9 here. So we're asked to write down all the possible values of y. So for all the possible values of y here, well, we don't include the 5 or the 9, so in this case then the possible values of y would simply be 6. Let's write this down here. So for part A, we've got 6, 7, and 8 then. Okay, like we said, we don't include the 5 or the 9. So there we have it. So that's the solution to A. Moving on to B now. We're looking to solve this inequality here. So I've got 3 lots with A minus 4. And this is strictly less than 42. So the very first thing that I'm going to do here is expand this bracket on the left hand side. So expanding this bracket, we take the 3 here and multiply it by each term inside the bracket. We do 3 times A. That will give us 3a. And we do 3 here, times minus 4, which gives us minus 12. And this is less than 42. So what I'm going to do now is balance this inequality here by adding 12 to both sides. So add 12 to both sides here. On the left hand side we'll get 3a. And on the right hand side here, we're going to get 42 plus 12, which would give us 54. So now we just want a here. So what I'm going to do then is divide by the coefficient here, which is this 3. Therefore a is going to be less than 54 divided by 3. So 54 divided by 3 here, which would simply give us 18. Okay. So 54 divided by 3 gives us 18. So a is strictly less than 18 there. Okay. And there we have it. So that's the solution to B. That gives us the solution to question 3. Moving on to question 4 now. So we've got two parts here. So we begin with part A. We're asked to show the inequality of x plus 3 being less than or equal to 4 on the number line below. So we can see the number line here. Now, normally what we do is we go straight away to placing our circle at this number here. But we have a bit of a problem because this isn't just for x here. Okay, it's x plus 3. So we need to get rid of this plus 3 here. Okay, we just want x on its own. So how do we get rid of the plus 3? Well, we do the opposite. What's the opposite of adding 3? Well, that would be to subtract 3 off both sides. Okay. So the inequality then that we're going to work with here will be x is less than or equal to 4 minus 3, giving us 1 there. So now we can place our circle at 1. Place our circle at 1 there. So now we think about the inequality here. We're looking for values that are equal to 1 or smaller. So 1, 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, and so on. We're going in this direction here. Like so. Place that arrow in that direction. So now what we need to think about here is whether we shade this circle. So remember, for inequalities here, or representing inequalities on a number line, we shade the circle if we do include this value. So because we are including this value now, it means we do shade the circle like so. And there we have it. So that's the solution to A there. So we move on to B now. We're asked to solve x being greater than or equal to 6 plus 5x. Let me just write that below. So x is greater than or equal to 6 plus 5x. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to think about this inequality in a slightly different way. If x is greater than or equal to 6 plus 5x, then what that also means is that 6 plus 5x is less than or equal to x. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, what you might notice is a bit of a problem here is we have an x on both sides. I've got 5x and I've got x here. But remember, treat this like an equation. If you had an x on both sides of the equation here, what you'd do is you'd subtract the smaller amount of x off both sides. What I'm going to do here is minus x off both sides. Okay. But in that case, then what I'm going to get here is 6 plus 4x on the left hand side. And then on the right hand side here, we've got x minus x, and that would just give me 0. Okay. So now we're solving this inequality here. Remember, we're solving for x. So what I'm going to do then is get rid of this 6 here on the left hand side. So we don't write in front, but what we actually have here is plus 6. So what's the opposite of adding 6? That would be to subtract 6. So I'm going to minus 6 off both sides here. Like so. What that would give me then is 4x on the left hand side. Will be less than or equal, and then 0 minus 6 giving me minus 6 there. Okay. Remember, we just want x here, so I need to get rid of this 4 in front. So to do that, we're going to divide by 4. So divide both sides by 4 here. And in that case, then we simply get x less than or equal to minus 6 divided by 4. Minus 6 over 4. But remember, we can simplify this here, so we can also give this as x is less than or equal to minus 3 over 2 there. Okay. And there we have it. So that's the solution to B. And that gives the solution to question 4. And finally, to finish with here then, if we take a look now at the very last question, question 5, we've got two parts. So we begin with part A. We've got x in integer, and we've got this inequality here. So we're asked to write down all the possible values of x So to begin with here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down this inequality again. Like so. Now the issue here is we normally just work with x. Okay, so we just want x on its own. We don't want this 2 in front. So how do we get rid of this 2? Well, because we're timesing x by 2 here, we do the opposite, so we divide through now by 2. So 0 divided by 2, that will give me 0. 2x divided by 2, that would give me x, which is what we want. And then 12 divided by 2, that would give me 6. Okay? So now we want all the possible values of x here. We do include the 0, but we don't include the 6. So in that case then, put it underneath here, and the possible values of x will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, like we said, we don't include the 6 here, so there we have it. So that's the solution to A. So to finish with then, we take a look at B now. We've got this inequality here presented on the number line. The rest right down the inequality is shown on the number line above. So we're doing this in terms of the variable x here. So for B then, got the variable x, and I've also got the number here -2. That's where my circle's placed. Okay, -2. I've got the variable x and the number -2. So the only thing left to decide now is the inequality here. So is my inequality greater than or equal to? Is it less than or equal to? So if we think about the inequality here that's being presented on the number line, then we're looking for values that are greater. So -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So the numbers are getting bigger. So it's either going to be greater than or equal to. It will either be greater than or equal to. But because the circle is shaded here, okay, that means we now include the equals here. We're looking at x being greater than or equal to -2 there. Okay. And there we have it. So that's the solution to A. And that's the solution to B. That gives us the solution to question 5, and that brings the end of this video on exam revision for inequalities. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at finding the nth term of an arithmetic sequence.